The last few weeks of summer are here, and unfortunately that means goodbye to the hot weather. However, saying goodbye is hard for me though, so I decided to make a top 3 tier list of things you should do one last time before the sun is gone and we're locked inside for 7 months. The rankings in this video are going to be based on this one criteria. What activity takes the least amount of setup and preparation for the most amount of enjoyment? So, with that in mind, 3 is considered the least pound for pound enjoyable activity out of the bunch, and 1 is the best. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Starting with number 3, camping. I think camping is such an amazing activity to do with your family, friends, it doesn't matter. I grew up where the only thing I looked forward to was going to the beach maybe once a year, or hopefully going to go camping for about 3 to 4 days, right? That was something I just looked forward to so much as a kid, and it's carried into my adult life where I don't get to go camping often, and when I do, it's with people I care about, and I really enjoy the time that I spend with them, doing nothing but building campfires and just talking and playing cards, eating food, you know. It's a really enjoyable time, and it's so simple too, and it's very cheap. Okay, I grew up poor, and I could go and camp, you know, it wasn't really expensive, right? It's relatively cheap once you got the actual equipment to camp in, which is just all you need is a tent and a sleeping bag and you're pretty much set to go. What I would recommend, however, you get things like an air mattress, right? You have a tent that you actually enjoy sleeping in. It's big enough and comfy enough, right? Enough food, right? Things like cup of noodles, things I looked forward to. Some s'mores, of course, you can't go wrong with. And so I think most importantly, though, it's the people you bring camping that makes camping what an experience it is, right? And so bring people you enjoy being around, because you're going to have a lot of time to talk and connect. And you have no light pollution, so you can just see the stars from wherever you are at night, and it is so enjoyable. I love camping. I'm a big advocate for it, but it does find itself on number 3 in the list. Number 2 falling on this list, and this was a really tough one for me because I love both these next few things that are going to come up, but seriously, number 2, you guys need to get a hobby, and this hobby needs to be one of these 3 games, okay? Cornhole, Canjam, or ladder ball. All 3 of those activities are some of the most fun games you can play with family and friends in the summer, okay? So starting off with cornhole, if you don't know what cornhole is, I don't know, you've been living under a rock, maybe you're not country enough, I don't know, I'm not even country, but shoot, I know what cornhole is. Cornhole is a game where you can play 1v1 or 2v2. Generally people play the 2v2 version because it's obviously it's a team game, it's pretty fun, but you stand across from your partner and so does the other team, and you go head to head with the opponent trying to get these bean bags thrown onto the other board across from you. Ideally you're trying to make it in the hole for 3, but if you don't make it on the hole, you got to make it on the board, and once you get on the board, that's 1 point. Except your opponent can knock you off, and your opponent cancels out whatever points you have. So you have to have a surplus of points by the end of that round to actually score points for your team. And generally you go to about 21. And so if both you and your opponent score 2 in the hole, and that ends up being 6 points for each of you, it cancels out. You have no points by the end of that round. It's kind of like ladder ball. Ladder ball, you stand across from your teammate and you verse the other teams directly. And so you throw it, and if you get it on the top, it's 3 points. If you get it on the bottom, it's 1 point, right? And in the middle, it's 2 points. And so you try to cancel out each other's points, try to get a surplus of points. Ideally, right, you're going to 21 about, and the things are spread about 20 feet. Same thing as cornhole. They all kind of have the similar aspects to them, which is really cool. But they're slightly different, which makes them all super enjoyable to compete in. That's why I have all 3 games, honestly. I think they're super fun, and I think that when you have all 3 games, you can mix it up, right? If you don't want to play cornhole, you just go play Canjam or something, which is what I'm going to talk about now. Canjam, I'd have to say, is probably the most fun out of the 3, just because it requires the most teamwork, okay? So you start off with a Frisbee and 2 of these, like, kind of like garbage can looking things, and you toss the Frisbee trying to hit it on the garbage can or make it inside the garbage can, and all your teammate has to do is they have to pay attention, right? They have to be ready to smack it in. So if it's going too far to the right, they got to hit it left into the basket, you know, and it's really It's really fun. Okay, it's not a little bit athletic because you got to move pretty fast, but you get to try to slam it inside the middle of the basket or just hit the basket, and that's how you score points. Getting it inside the hole with assistance or without the assistance is 3 points. Getting it to hit the basket without any assistance, that's 2 points. Getting it to hit the basket with assistance is 1 point. Okay, and so that's one where it continuously adds up the score. There is no trying to beat the opposing team with the score. You're trying to get to 21 first. It's definitely the best out of the activity. So if you can only get one of the activities, get Canjam because it is fun. Unless you're dealing with like younger kids or really old population, then you would probably want like ladder ball because that's way easier for everybody. But Canjam, if you're dealing with a kind of 20, 30-year-olds and stuff. 40-year-olds even. Okay, I'm not judging. Get Canjam. It's the best and it's the cheapest. It's around $30, whereas the other ones are pretty expensive. Ladder ball's like 50, and then Cornhole is like 100. So it can be a little bit pricey there, but the other stuff is really cheap. Last but not least of things you definitely need to do one more time, if that's all you get the chance to do this summer, is floating. I know that sounds really weird, like floating in a river. Yeah, if you don't know that term, tubing sometimes it's what it's called. Sometimes floating is called being pulled by a boat, and sometimes tubing is called being pulled by a boat. It just depends on where you live. I'm from the West Coast. It's a West Coast thing. So, floating down a river though, right? With your friends, family, doesn't matter who you're with. That is my favorite thing to do. Okay, I've done it like 3 times this summer already. I love it. Okay, you spend about 4 hours out there in the sun, getting to swim in the water whenever you want, and rapids, like going down some rapids. It's super enjoyable and it's super easy to do. All you need is literally an inner tube, an electric pump, so you're not sitting there blowing up your inner tube before you get in, and that would be kind of a pain, and then some snacks. A lot of people bring alcohol to this. I never drank, so I don't do that stuff personally, but a lot of people bring beers. I'm more about bringing like snacks, like candy, healthy snacks too, because if you just bring candy, you feel crappy on the river all day. It's not really fun. So I bring things to hydrate too, water, Gatorades. I think that's super important. And so I've linked some of my favorite stuff to do. If you just go with the basic stuff the first few times, it is totally fine. Going with just an inner tube is totally fine. I personally have optimized it to where I have a water bag. I have a flat platform to where it's huge and it can fit like 6 people. So I bring a few inner tubes, I bring that flat platform, and I bring a carrier for my drinks and stuff. But you don't need all that, okay? You need as simple as possible, which I'm gonna link down below the inner tubes. I would suggest they're about 30 to 40 bucks. You can go with a $5 tube. It's just for me, I have neck issues, and so the sitting up with one of those is kind of hard to do personally. So these are a lot more comfortable, and they have netted bottoms so you don't lose your stuff. You can bring your phone too. You can just put it in a plastic baggie and you just Ziploc it. It's super simple. You don't even got to worry about it. I would suggest getting a water bag as well and just put that Ziploc baggie inside the water bag. It's even easier. And then bring your speakers as well, so you can play some country music, obviously, blast it down the river. And if you pass by people, turn it up, obviously. So that is my all-time favorite thing to do, though. I do love floating, and I would suggest if you've never been floating, get a few friends. You have to bring 2 cars, because you have to have one at the start point and the end point, and then whoever is the driver, make sure you bring your keys because you got to drive back up. It's really simple. I would recommend that you bring life jackets just in case something does happen. You don't want to be going down a river and all of a sudden you lose one of your family members. That would be pretty awful. So I would suggest bringing life jackets, bringing food, bringing that electric pump, bringing that inner tube, and bringing a speaker. Most importantly, you do not want to forget a speaker and your phone inside of a Ziploc bag. Bam, you are good to go, and it is going to be a ride. Okay, it's going to be a lot of fun. Get out, enjoy the water. I see a lot of people just sitting in the inner tube the whole time. When the river's going pretty slow, you have to get out and swim. Okay, enjoy being alive. Okay, and so that's all I made this video for. I just wanted everybody to go out, be alive, enjoy these last few days of summer. And if you guys need to purchase any of the equipment found in this video for the activities, go down below in the description of this video. I have all the links to all the stuff that I personally use for these activities right there in the description for you. So I did all the hard work looking it up for you. That's all for the video, guys. Comment which one is your favorite activity to do, or if you have a better activity that I didn't list in this video, let me know in the comments so I can go try it out this summer before it ends as well. Thank you, guys.